Section 16 of the Letters of Jane Austen. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Letter 35. Sloane Street, Thursday, April 18th, 1811. My dear Cassandra, I have so many little matters to tell you of that I cannot wait any longer before I begin to put them down. I spent Tuesday in Bentinck Street. The cooks called here and took me back, and it was quite a cook day, for the Miss Rolls paid a visit while I was there, and Sam Arnold dropped in to tea. The badness of the weather disconcerted an excellent plan of mine, that of calling on Miss Beckford again, but from the middle of the day it rained incessantly. Mary and I, after disposing of her father and mother, went to the Liverpool Museum and the British Gallery, and I had some amusement at each, though my preference for men and women always inclines me to attend more to the company than the sight. Mrs. Cooke regrets very much that she did not see you when you called. It was owing to a blunder among the servants, for she did not know of our visit till we were gone. She seems tolerably well, but with the nervous part of her complaint, I fear, increases, and makes her more and more unwilling to part with Mary. I have proposed to the latter that she should go to Chawton with me, on the supposition of my travelling the Guildford road, and she, I do believe, would be glad to do it, but perhaps it may be impossible. Unless a brother can be at home at that time, it certainly must. George comes to them to-day. I did not see Theo till late on Tuesday. He was gone to Ilford, but he came back in time to show his usual nothing-meaning, harmless, heartless civility. Henry, who had been confined the whole day to the bank, took me in his way home, and after putting life and wit into the party for a quarter of an hour, put himself and his sister into a hackney coach. I bless my stars that I have done with Tuesday. But, alas! Wednesday was likewise a day of great doings, for Manon and I took our walk to Grafton House, and I have a good deal to say on that subject. I am sorry to tell you that I am getting very extravagant, and spending all my money, and what is worse for you, I have been spending yours too, for in a linen draper's shop to which I went for a checked muslin, and for which I was obliged to give 7 shillings a yard, I was tempted by a pretty colored muslin, and bought 10 yards of it on the chance of your liking it; but at the same time, if it should not suit you, you must not think yourself at all obliged to take it. It is only 3 shillings and sixpence a yard, and I should not in the least mind keeping the whole. In texture it is just what we prefer, but its resemblance to green crewels, I must own, is not great, for the pattern is a small red spot. And now I believe I have done all my commissions except Wedgwood. I like my walk very much. It was shorter than I had expected, and the weather was delightful. We set off immediately after breakfast, and must have reached Grafton House by 11:30. But when we entered the shop, the whole counter was thronged, and we waited full half an hour before we could be attended to. When we were served, however, I was very well satisfied with my purchases. My bugle trimming at 2 shillings and 4pence, and 3 pair silk stockings for a little less than 12 shillings a pair. In my way back, who should I meet but Mr. Moore, just come from Beckenham. I believe he would have passed me if I had not made him stop, but we were delighted to meet. I soon found, however, that he had nothing new to tell me, and then I let him go. Miss Burton has made me a very pretty little bonnet, and now nothing can satisfy me but I must have a straw hat, of the riding hat shape, like Mrs. Tilson's, and a young woman in this neighborhood is actually making me one. I am really very shocking, but it will not be dear at a guinea. Our pelisses are 17 shillings each; she charges only 8 shillings for the making, but the buttons seem expensive, are expensive, I might have said, for the fact is plain enough. We drank tea again yesterday with the Tilsons, and met the Smiths. I find all these little parties very pleasant. I like Mrs. S. Miss Beaty is good humor itself, and does not seem much besides. We spend to-morrow evening with them, and are to meet the Colonel and Mrs. Cantelow Smith you have been used to hear of, and, if she is in good humor, are likely to have excellent singing. To-night I might have been at the play. Henry had kindly planned our going together to the Lyceum, but I have a cold, which I should not like to make worse before Saturday, so I stay within all this day. Eliza is walking out by herself. She has plenty of business on her hands just now, for the day of the party is settled and drawing near. Above 80 people are invited for next Tuesday evening, and there is to be some very good music, 5 professionals, 3 of them glee singers, besides amateurs. Fanny will listen to this. One of the hirelings is a capital on the harp, from which I expect great pleasure. The foundation of the party was a dinner to Henry Egerton and Henry Walter, but the latter leaves town the day before. I am sorry, as I wished her prejudice to be done away, but should have been more sorry if there had been no invitation. I am a wretch, to be so occupied with all these things as to seem to have no thoughts to give to people and circumstances which really supply a far more lasting interest, the society in which you are. But I do think of you all, I assure you, and want to know all about everybody, and especially about your visit to the W. Friars, mais le moyen not to be occupied by one's own concerns. Saturday. Frank is superseded in the Caledonia. Henry brought us this news yesterday from Mr. Daysh, and he had at the same time that Charles may be in England in the course of a month. Sir Edward Pollen succeeds Lord Gambier in his command, and some captain of his succeeds Frank, and I believe the order is already gone out. Henry means to inquire further to day. He wrote to Mary on the occasion. This is something to think of. Henry is convinced that he will have the offer of something else, but does not think it will be at all incumbent upon him to accept it. And then follows, what will he do, and where will he live? I hope to hear from you to day. How are you as to health, strength, looks, etc.? I had a very comfortable account from Chawton yesterday. If the weather permits, Eliza and I walk into London this morning. She is in want of chimney lights for Tuesday, and I of an ounce of darning cotton. She is resolved not to venture to the play to night. The D'Entraigues and Comte Julien cannot come to the party, which was at first a grief, but she has since supplied herself so well with performers that it is of no consequence. Their not coming has produced our going to them to-morrow evening, which I like the idea of. It will be amusing to see the ways of a French circle. I wrote to Mrs. Hill a few days ago, and have received a most kind and satisfactory answer. Any time the first week in May exactly suits her, and therefore I consider my going as tolerably fixed. I shall leave Sloane Street on the 1st or 2nd, and be ready for James on the 9th, and if his plan alters, I can take care of myself. I have explained my views here, and everything is smooth and pleasant, and Eliza talks kindly of conveying me to Streatham. We met the Tilsons yesterday evening, but the singing Smiths sent an excuse, which put our Mrs. Smith out of humor. We are come back, after a good dose of walking and coaching, and I have the pleasure of your letter. I wish I had James's verses, but they were left at Chawton. When I return thither, if Mrs. K. will give me leave, I will send them to her. Our first object to day was Henrietta Street, to consult with Henry in consequence of a very unlucky change of the play for this night, Hamlet instead of King John, and we are to go on Monday to Macbeth instead, but it is a disappointment to us both. Love to all. Yours affectionately, Jane. Letter 36. Sloane Street, Thursday, April 25. My dearest Cassandra, I can return the compliment by thanking you for the unexpected pleasure of your letter yesterday, and as I like unexpected pleasure, it made me very happy. And indeed, you need not apologize for your letter in any respect, for it is all very fine, but not too fine, I hope, to be written again, or something like it. I think Edward will not suffer much longer from heat. By the look of things this morning, I suspect the weather is rising into the balsamic northeast. It has been hot here, as you may suppose, since it was so hot with you, but I have not suffered from it at all, nor felt it in such a degree as to make me imagine it would be anything in the country. Everybody has talked of the heat, but I set it all down to London. I give you joy of our new nephew, and hope, if he ever comes to be hanged, it will not be till we are too old to care about it. It is a great comfort to have it so safely and speedily over. The Miss Curlings must be hard worked in writing so many letters, but the novelty of it may recommend it to them. Mine was from Miss Eliza, and she says that my brother may arrive to day. No, indeed, I am never too busy to think of S. and S. I can no more forget it than a mother can forget her sucking child, and I am much obliged to you for your inquiries. I have had 2 sheets to correct, but the last only brings us to Willoughby's first appearance. Mrs. K. regrets in the most flattering manner that she must wait till May, but I have scarcely a hope of its being out in June. Henry does not neglect it; he has hurried the printer, and says he will see him again to day. It will not stand still during his absence; it will be sent to Eliza. The incomes remain as they were, but I will get them altered if I can. I am very much gratified by Mrs. K.'s interest in it, and whatever may be the event of it as to my credit with her, sincerely wish her curiosity could be satisfied sooner than is now probable. I think she will like my Eleanor, but cannot build on anything else. Our party went off extremely well. There were many solicitudes, alarms, and vexations beforehand, of course, but at last everything was quite right. The rooms were dressed up with flowers, etc., and looked very pretty. A glass for the mantelpiece was lent by the man who was making their own. Mr. Egerton and Mr. Walter came at 5:30, and the festivities began with a pair of very fine souls. Yes, Mr. Walter, for he has postponed his leaving London on purpose, which did not give much pleasure at the time, any more than the circumstance from which it rose, his calling on Sunday and being asked by Henry to take the family dinner on that day, which he did; but it is all smoothed over now, and she likes him very well. At 7:30 arrived musicians in 2 hackney coaches, and by 8 the lordly company began to appear. Among the earliest were George and Mary Cook, and I spent the greatest part of the evening very pleasantly with them. The drawing room being soon hotter than we liked, we placed ourselves in the connecting passage, which was comparatively cool, and gave us all the advantage of the music at a pleasant distance, as well as that of the first view of every newcomer. I was quite surrounded by acquaintance, especially gentlemen; and what with Mr. Hampson, Mr. Seymour, Mr. W. Knatchbull, Mr. Guimard, Mr. Cure, a Captain Simpson, brother to the Captain Simpson, besides Mr. Walter and Mr. Egerton, in addition to the Cooks, and Miss Beckford, and Miss Middleton, I had quite as much upon my hands as I could do. Poor Miss B. has been suffering again from her old complaint, and looks thinner than ever. She certainly goes to Cheltenham in the beginning of June. We were all delight and cordiality, of course. Miss M. seems very happy, but has not beauty enough to figure in London. Including everybody, we were 66, which was considerably more than Eliza had expected, and quite enough to fill the back drawing-room, and leave a few to be scattered about in the other and in the passage. The music was extremely good. It opened, tell Fanny, with "Poic de parp pers praise pof prapula," and of the other glees I remember, "In Peace Love Tunes," "Rosabelle," "The Red Cross Knight," and "Poor Insect." Between the songs were lessons on the harp, or harp and pianoforte together, and the harp player was Weipart, whose name seems famous, though new to me. There was one female singer, a short Miss Davis, all in blue, bringing up for the public line, whose voice was said to be very fine indeed, and all the performers gave great satisfaction by doing what they were paid for, and giving themselves no airs. No amateur could be persuaded to do anything. The house was not clear till after 12. If you wish to hear more of it, you must put your questions, but I seem rather to have exhausted than spared the subject. This said Captain Simpson told us, on the authority of some other captain just arrived from Halifax, that Charles was bringing the Cleopatra home, and that she was probably by this time in the Channel; but as Captain S. was certainly in liquor, we must not quite depend upon it. It must give one a sort of expectation, however, and will prevent my writing to him any more. I would rather he should not reach England till I am at home, and the Steventon party gone. My mother and Martha both write with great satisfaction of Anna's behavior. She is quite an Anna with variations, but she cannot have reached her last, for that is always the most flourishing and showy. She is at about her third or fourth, which are generally simple and pretty. Your lilacs are in leaf, ours are in bloom. The horse chestnuts are quite out, and the elms almost. I had a pleasant walk in Kensington Gardens on Sunday, with Henry, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Tilson. Everything was fresh and beautiful. We did go to the play after all on Saturday. We went to the Lyceum, and saw the Hypocrite, an old play taken from Molière's Tartuffe, and were well entertained. Dowton and Matthews were the good actors, Mrs. Edwin was the heroine, and her performance is just what it used to be. I have no chance of seeing Mrs. Siddons. She did act on Monday, but as Henry was told by the box keeper that he did not think she would, the plans and all thought of it were given up. I should particularly have liked seeing her in Constance, and could swear at her with little effort for disappointing me. Henry has been to the water color exhibition, which opened on Monday, and is to meet us there again some morning. If Eliza cannot go, and she has a cold at present, Miss Beaty will be invited to be my companion. Henry leaves town on Sunday afternoon, but he means to write soon himself to Edward, and will tell his own plans. The tea is this moment setting out. Do not have your colored muslin unless you really want it, because I am afraid I could not send it to the coach without giving trouble here. Eliza caught her cold on Sunday in our way to the D'Entraigues. The horses actually jibbed on this side of Hyde Park gate; a load of fresh gravel made it a formidable hill to them, and they refused the collar. I believe there was a sore shoulder to irritate. Eliza was frightened, and we got out, and were detained in the evening air several minutes. The cold is in her chest, but she takes care of herself, and I hope it may not last long. This engagement prevented Mr. Walter's staying late. He had his coffee and went away. Eliza enjoyed her evening very much, and means to cultivate the acquaintance. And I see nothing to dislike in them but their taking quantities of snuff. Monsieur, the old Count, is a very fine-looking man, with quiet manners, good enough for an Englishman, and, I believe, is a man of great information and taste. He has some fine paintings, which delighted Henry as much as the son's music gratified Eliza, and among them a miniature of Philip V. of Spain, Louis XIV.'s grandson, which exactly suited my capacity. Count Julien's performance is very wonderful. We met only Mrs. Latouche and Miss East, and we are just now engaged to spend next Sunday evening at Mrs. L's, and to meet the D'Entraigues, but M. le Comte must do without Henry. If he would but speak English, I would take to him. Have you ever mentioned the leaving off tea to Mrs. K.? Eliza has just spoken of it again. The benefit she has found from it in sleeping has been very great. I shall write soon to Catherine to fix my day, which will be Thursday. We have no engagement but for Sunday. Eliza's cold makes quiet advisable. Her party is mentioned in this morning's paper. I am sorry to hear of poor Fanny's state. From that quarter, I suppose, is to be the alloy of her happiness. I will have no more to say. Yours affectionately, J. A. Give my love particularly to my goddaughter. End of Section 16.